Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Zero Fidelity. My name is Sean, and today I'm going to be talking about the Fritz Morel 6 loudspeakers.
Meet me in the long bar underneath that bright star at midnight. I'll carry your shoes. Kiss me, baby, my head's a little hazy, but you know we'll be back soon. Be back soon. Be back soon. Be back soon.
And here they are. So, as most of you can tell, the Morel 6 is going to be a compact-ish two-way monitor. It'll feature a rear-firing port, a set of high-quality binding posts, and, as the name implies, the driver complement is going to consist of a 1-inch soft-dome tweeter by Morel and a 6-inch woofer, also by Morel. Now, the magic about these speakers, if you want to call it that, is going to be a series crossover that's designed to allow both of these drivers to work fully to spec. Now, the good news is that these speakers are pretty affordable. They retail for roughly $1,650 for the pair, but the downside is that auditioning them is going to be a pain in the butt because you can only buy them directly from Fritz. Now, as usual, I don't want to waste any time going over specifications, so if you want to know what their power efficiency is and things like that, just click on the box below, and I have a link that'll send you directly to Fritz's website. Now, with that being said, let's talk about fun stuff like how they sound. Alright, so when you get right down to it, guys, the Morel 6s are a pair of warm-sounding speakers that are designed to bridge the gap between musicality and transparency. And, okay, so what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is, if you want to be able to listen to music like progressive rock without this shrill and just grating sound, yet at the same time enjoy the fruits of an excellent recording, then you should keep watching this video because you might be very interested in these speakers. But let's get into specifics here. Let's talk about how they're voiced. And in a nutshell, I would say that these speakers have a very pear-shaped voice to them. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that the bass has a little bit of junk in the trunk. I mean the mid-range is going to be a little rich, a little sultry sounding, and the top end is going to be pretty smooth. So let's get into exact specifics by starting with the bottom end. Now, the bass on these speakers is actually going to be pretty impressive. It hits really hard and they dig surprisingly deep, but it is going to be blossomed out. It's definitely not something that you'd use for, say, studio work, but it's very pleasant to listen to, and ultimately, I think a lot of people would probably find that they don't even need a subwoofer with these speakers in a small to possibly even medium-sized room. But like I said, they are going to have a warm sound on the bottom end. Now the mid-range is going to sound a little more open, a little more articulate sounding, but it's still going to have a rich and sultry tone. And personally, I like this because I find that a lot of monitors tend to sound a little thin in the mid-range, and it's nice to have a speaker that has meat on the bone, and that's exactly what this kind of voicing will give you. And then we have the top end, and honestly, I think this is the speaker's most salient attribute. And personally, it's just because I love the Morel tweeter. It's airy, the timbre is absolutely fantastic on it, it's detailed, yet it's not so detailed and unnatural sounding as to render poor recordings unlistenable. So it's the perfect choice for this type of product. And the speakers also do other nifty things. They throw out this huge soundstage and they're unfussy to work with. So you're not really going to have to worry about finding that exact spot in your room to make them sound good. They're close to drop and plop, basically. But of course, like most speakers, they will give you rewards if you take the time to find that perfect spot in the room for them. But it's not necessary. Also, it's not really that necessary to lose sleep over what kind of products to pair with these things. It doesn't really matter if you have a tube amp. Doesn't really matter what type of solid state gear you have. These speakers tend to sound good with a huge variety of equipment types, which I think is absolutely fantastic. But like with all things in hi-fi, nothing is perfect. These speakers have at least one issue that you should know about, and let's talk about that. Alright, so here's the thing. These speakers are rated at being 87 dB efficient, and if I had to be honest with you guys, I think that specification is a little bit generous. They're honestly not all too power efficient, and let me put it to you this way. If you listen to simple music, like jazz ensembles, vocals, acoustic, and that's almost all you ever do, then you know what, don't worry about it. You could get away with a 10 to 15 watt per channel amp on these, no problem. But if you listen to rock, orchestral pieces, even at moderate volumes, yeah, you're going to want a 50 watt per channel amplifier, something with just a lot of muscle behind it. And if you like to really crank the volume, the good news is that these speakers can actually get really, really loud and play very cleanly in the process, but you're going to need the muscle to make that happen. You're going to need at least 100 watts per channel, and I know my main reference amp, which pushes out nearly 200 per channel, I mean, these speakers eat up all that juice. So you need to be aware that you're going to need some good, clean current with these speakers if you really want to hear what they can do. But with that said, that's the only real complaint I have, which leads me to my final thoughts. Alright, so when you get right down to it, guys, these are very easy speakers to recommend. I mean, they look great, they sound great, they're easy to work with, and the price is right. And I also feel they have a voicing that a lot of you guys would love. Now, I know I personally have a huge music collection with tons of different genres in there, and I love it when I can find a product where I can just put a recording into the system, not have to worry about getting a horrible experience. Yet, at the same time, I have a lot of excellent sounding, very expensive recordings in my collection too, and I want something that can allow me to reap the benefits of how excellent that recording is, and that's what these speakers do. So ultimately, I think Fritz did a very good job of building something that bridges that gap between musicality and transparency, especially at this price. No, they're definitely not studio monitors. They have a very colored presentation, but if you think you're after that type of sound, you know what? If you're willing to take a chance on a consumer direct company, I can't recommend them highly enough. So with that said, thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, peace.